All right. Welcome to today's office hours, December 6th. And just excited about some of the things that we've got to share today. Kendra has put together some great content. Kendra, you're always good at this. Thank you so much for what you do. About contact cross-section. Contact cross-section is one of those ideas and concepts that I came up with early on, where we want to make a fail-safe. We want to make a way that, in the event that people stop a workflow or whatever, that you can still make sure they don't fall through the cracks. So we're going to talk about that and some of the things that we can do to make that happen. For those that don't know me, my name is Mark Stepp. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer here at Realvolve, and spend a lot of time just helping real estate agents through technology and helping them create a sustainable business. With me today, Kendra. Kendra, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Kendra Rouse, and I'm in the Premium Services Department. We really work with you one-on-one to set up your business and your processes inside of Realvolve and make sure that you have, a systems and a path for everything that you're doing. That really leads into what we're going to talk about today, because lead management is the lifeline of your business. And so many agents they're just not doing this right. And so the thing about it is that I think the biggest thing that I see is that agents want to hit the ground running, but sometimes when you're running, it's really hard to stop running and think about what you should be doing. And so I really wanted to create a, this webinar is meant to be where you can watch it from beginning into end. And if you do these steps, you will have your lead process set up and, something that you can use going forward. And it's really about the planning and the implementation. So this entire hour is set for step-by-step on how you're going to do that.
Love it. Love it.
Please visit realvolve.com/office hours. We host these office hours every week, and there's a full list of previous office hours. And then also we've got a few webinars coming up, preparing for 2024 and making data-driven decisions. So part of what I would use to set up my contact cross-section is this worksheet. So Mark, could you take a copy of that worksheet and put it in the chat for Greg if he doesn't already have it?
Absolutely.
So let's start by looking at the front end. Like, what is the contact cross-section? It is the place where all of my people that I intend on having communication with, consistent communication with, live. And the great thing about the contact cross-section is it's smart enough to tell me when it's time to contact those people. Because if you have 500 people in your database, how do you choose who you log in and talk to that day? The contact cross-section decides that for you, and it gives you a to-do list. So the contact cross-section essentially is one of your to-do lists. So when I come in here and I see anything that is not a 0, the system is telling me it is time to contact that person. And so as I can see here, I've got 24 past clients that it is time for me to give them a call, to shoot them a Facebook message, to make some kind of interaction. And I would really open this contact cross-section, in my opinion, to, let's just take a look at this, okay? So if I come in here, let's say Corella DeVille, I sold her a house last year. I want to make sure that I have communication with Corella going on forward, okay? So the system is telling me it's time to talk to her. You can see it's 671 days. So the system tells you there how long it's been since you've talked to them. But really, I would encourage you to use this more than just a cue to call somebody. It is a, well, where is Corella? Does she need anything from me? What can I do to talk to her? And it's more than that, right? You're asking yourself, what can I do in this moment to continue to have an established relationship with this person? And I think a lot of times agents are reluctant to pick up the phone and call somebody. That may work, if that's what you want to do, but this could be any kind of form of communication where it's personal, right? If you send somebody a newsletter, right? They know that you're sending that newsletter to possibly hundreds of other people. I would really encourage you to use this contact cross section for personal communication, meaning that that person knows that you took 5 minutes out of your day to think about them. And that can be in a variety of forms. That could be a handwritten note. That could be a phone call, a text message, a Facebook, anything. It's where it's like, hey, that person actually genuinely took 5 minutes out of their day for me. So again, the fact that they're showing up here tells me that it's an indication that I need to make communication. So what I'm going to do is click into this person, and the system's going to give me more information. It's going to reiterate the fact that it's been way too long since I've talked to this person. It's going to give me an email, a phone, a cell. If I wanted to send an email here, I could click here and I have access to my entire database. So I could select one of my templates. I could send it off. When I do that, it is going to actually log the fact that I sent that email inside of that contact's account. I could also send a text message. And again, I have access to these text messages here. And so it's pulling in my greetings, pulling all of my information in. I send it off and I've updated that. The last thing that I need to do is tell the system what I've done. And I'm essentially going to use this calendar view over here to manage or tell the system that I've made communication with this person. The system's looking for essentially one of three things. We'll update this on here: last call date, last personal visit date, and postpone contact date. If I come in and say, I talked to this person today, then the system is going to reset itself and say, okay, you talked to this person today. You've told the system that you're going to contact all of your past clients once a quarter. So Corella DeVille is good for this quarter. Take her off of the list, essentially. Okay. So we have to tell the system that we're good. The other thing is last personal visit date. If I were to update this, then it would change it. And the other thing that I would encourage you to use is postpone contact date. So let me give you an example. If I called or I tried to make a phone call, let's just move this back out. Okay. If I made a phone call to Corella, she did not answer, but I updated the last call date to today's date. I have told the system I've made communication, see her again in 3 months. But I don't want to do that. Maybe I want a reminder that I want to contact her again in a couple days. I can use the postpone contact date and kind of pick the next time or push this contact out for the next time that I want to talk to them. And so I could say, all right, well, I want to make contact again on Friday. And so again, even though I haven't told the person that this person their communication is fine, that they're good to go for 90 days. But what I've told the system is they're good for 2 days, push them out for a couple days, and let me deal with them then. I don't want them to sit on my contact cross section, for another however long, because at some point, if you have too many people on there, you don't know who to focus on, and you need to have some kind of management system. So you're doing one of two things. You're either updating the last call date or personal visit date to tell the system this person is good for the next whatever time frame we've decided for this type of person, or you're picking your poison and you're selecting a specific date that you want to think about them again. And this postpone contact date can be great for this type of situation, or another scenario. Maybe this person's out of the country for a few months, or there's some other reason where they would not follow the traditional time frame that you've set for this status or this type of person. And so because I've done that, when I back out of here, as you can see on this list, this person is gone. They're not here anymore. And so when I back out, instead of 22, I have 21. So when I say this is a to-do list, it is a to-do list. If all of your boxes are not 0, then the system is telling you it is time to make communication with this person. Okay. So fundamentally, understanding how that works is step 1. What were you going to say, Mark?
I think there's one very important distinction there in making sure that everybody understands it. You said it good, very well. I just think that it's important that you realize if you picked up the phone and you called them, that doesn't mean you need to put the call date in there unless they answered. If they answer, then let's put the call date in there. Otherwise, let's put the postpone date in there, or just, create a note. Hey, I called them on this day. There was, no answer, whatever. That the indicator there is the call was complete. Therefore, let's put the date in there. Just making sure that's clear.
Yeah. So let's go over another example, and we're really going to break this down and help you set it up, but really important to see how it works on the front end. So if I come in here, I've got 8 people in my suspect aware bucket. So if I click on this, let's use Jonna Dixon. So if I click in here, like Mark was saying, in addition to the emails, the text, the calendar, another thing I can do without directly going into this person's contact is to click on this note section and kind of to Mark's point, right? So if somebody's in my suspect, the way I define my leads, that person has never been, I have not communicated with them, but they've raised their hand in a real estate aspect in some way. And so it is my goal to either make communication with them or attempt to do so many times. And so this note field could be a good way of doing this, right? So maybe I left a voicemail. I could just say whatever I want. Now, what it's going to do is go in there and save that communication on Jonna's record. And so I could come in here and I can do a couple things like Mark said. When you're deciding whether or not to update with the last call date or postpone or things like that, what you have to keep in mind is what the system is looking for or the time frame that is established with these leads. Okay, so I have our account set up so a suspect, again, a person that I've never spoke to, should be contacted every 2 days. So if I put this last call date as today, the system's going to say, contact this person again in 2 days. The same way with Crella DeVille. I said, all of my past clients are going to be contacted once every 90 days. So if I put that I talked to her today or that I made a call today, the system says, oh, she's good for 90 days. So the question is always, you should be asking yourself, if I update the last call date or the last personal visit date, is this person good for the time frame that I have established? And if they're not, then you postpone them out, right? Same thing with this. If I change the last call date to, because I put a note that I left her a voicemail. So I'm making a decision here. If I update this last call date, the system thinks I need to contact her every 2 days. So that's 2 days from now. Is that good? And if it is, I could use that. That's fine. But maybe I've made the decision that I want to call again tomorrow. So I'm going to use that postpone contact date to get this updated. Again, when I back out, she's gone because I did one of the 2 things. And I told the system the next time that that person needs to be on my radar. All right, so let's take a look at another thing. Another common thing that comes into play here is I have this person on this list, but especially with suspects, you're like, well, who is this person? Where did they come from? I don't remember them. You can click directly on their name and it's going to open another tab and throw you into their contact. As you can see up here, it still left the first tab open so you can get there. But as you can see, it'll take you here. Your notes and correspondence should show you kind of what's been going on. I see bounce notifications here for this person, meaning the emails that I've sent them are bouncing, bad address. I can see their tags. Also, their contact tab is going to give me a lot of information to include maybe where they came from or other details that may help me get an indication of kind of what this person is or who they what their next step would be.
Yeah, I think especially whenever you're seeing the bounce, if it says bounce on there and not spam or something like that, if it says bounce, it's a bad email of some sort. So that is a great opportunity to say, hey, this person, I've got the wrong email address for this person. Let me contact them just to touch base with them and start that conversation with, hey, I was updating my database. I saw that some of my emails were just bouncing back. Wanted to make sure I had a more accurate email address for you. Can I get that? And start doing that conversation, building that rapport with each other. with something that's valid, something that's good. And one of the funny things that, and I've taught this for years, it's just like, people understand that if the computer wants it, I need to give it to them. Some people are reluctant to give information, but if you say, hey, my system's saying I need this, they'll give it to you in most cases. It's a way to make sure things are accurate and a conversation starter whenever you're getting in there.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we've talked about kind of how to manage these people. So if you're going to use this contact cross section, doing exactly what we just went through is what you're going to do for every single person. You're going to click in here, you're going to make some kind of contact, and you're going to tell the system, oh yeah, I actually just saw this person. Maybe it was yesterday. And so when I click out of here, again, the system's going to update and it's going to adjust it. So now it's down to 7. So the goal is once these people qualify to be on here, then, all you have to do is tell the system that you talk to them or manage their contact using the contact cross section. The other good thing about this is once you put somebody on the contact cross section, they're not going to get off the contact cross section until you kick them off or disqualify them, which will show you how to do that. But that's the great thing about it, right? If I say, hey, I closed Joe Buyer last week, and I have a way to make sure that Joe Buyer gets in my, attention span every 90 days forever, that there's the money right there. If you just send Joe Buyer a text message or a Facebook message or whatever, letting him know that you're thinking about him, who's Joe Buyer going to pick up and call the phone? It's simple stuff. It's the basics of what makes agents successful. And it's all about personalization and personal touch. And I honestly don't know. This is a great way to do it.
And the main goal every time you look at this is the main goal is to get that person from the lower left, which is suspect aware. They're aware of you, but they've not been contacted yet. And then you progressively move them. And sometimes it'll kind of circle around between aware no to prospect aware to no prospect. It kind of goes up and then to the right. Very few times, and you've got one there that's the aware client. That's pretty rare, and it's probably something that's more wrong than anything. That just because this is a sample database, it's something that just is fairly rare. But you will almost always go from the lower left to the upper right with your contacts, and your ultimate goal is to get them to that like and trust side, so that if somebody likes you, they become a client. And if they trust you, they have done multiple transactions with you, or they've given you multiple referrals. They trust you, and that's the power of like and trust, and getting them into that past client section of like and trust is what's so critical.
Yeah, and a couple things on this too. Right here it says past client, but I would encourage you to use this as a bigger bucket. I would encourage you to use it as sphere and past client, and anything that is on this widget, it means that I want to maintain communication with this person. And so, if you plan on either getting a referral from them, doing business with them in the future, and in some kind of professional way, need to keep some kind of systematic communication with them, get them on this widget. So one, I would define my past client bucket a little bit bigger and add sphere to that. Anybody you have an established relationship with, that's me personally. So if we want to start using this, we have to understand a few things. We have to understand this funnel over here and this funnel over here. So obviously nobody can show up on this widget if inside their contact record, they don't have a stage and a status set. Okay. So we have to ensure that everybody that we want on here has a stage and a status. We're going to do that. I'll show you how to do that. And then also in your contract to close process, any of our workflows that we provide to you, there's a step in there on the day of closing that says update your client's record. Okay. So on the day of closing, you should be doing a few things. You should be going in and updating their address, because probably their address has changed at this point, unless they're an investor or some other thing. You should be updating their stage and their status if it has changed, because in this situation, your client would be a client. But now this person's closed. So in my contact cross section, I talk to my clients once a week. I don't want to talk to my past clients once a week, and now Vinny's closed. So what I'm going to do is click in here, open up his contact record, and I'm going to funnel him up. And like Mark was saying, the goal is to get people, to move up. And so in this case, I've done that. And so inside a contact record, under the contact tab, I'm going to drop down classifications, and I'm going to use stage and status to control the contact cross section. In this case, now he's closed. And so by changing to past client, that person is now funneled on my contact cross section, and now they will show up in this bucket. And what has now, instead of once a week for communication, they're going to show up once a quarter. So I would definitely encourage you in your buyer contract to close, seller contract to close, to have a step on closing, the day after closing, sometime after closing, to update certain things that are going to change with your client. And those 3 things are definitely something that should be on there. So let's walk through the front end, and then we'll show you how to set this up. Let's take an example. Again, for me, suspect aware means that this person just came in. And I have never made communication with them. My goal is to get them up here to trust. Okay. So the first thing I need to understand is again, they have to have the stage and the status to even be on here. But what controls where the system, or how often the system tells me to contact these people, is in my settings, which we'll go over. But my settings are set up so a suspect is contacted every 2 days, a prospect every 3 days, a lead and a client once a week, and a past client once a quarter, again, sphere, or anything like that. Your numbers may be completely different. Also, what you consider a suspect may be a little bit different than what I consider a suspect. But step 1 in what this sheet does is defining that. Okay. And so inside this sheet, you'll see, okay, a suspect to me is this. And so I've pasted some stuff in here. And so what you're going to do when you're setting this up is come in here and update this. Read this status definition, see if you agree with what this means, and then make a definition on this. Okay. So am I going to commit to contacting somebody that I classify as a suspect every 2 days? And if I'm not, maybe it's once every day, whatever it is. But you have to make that determination first. Okay. So step 1, come in here and do that. Now, we'll go over A, B, C, and D, but let's finish the front end on this. So I have a person that came in, they were searching on my website. I have it so that my website captures any new leads and throws it into Realvolve, and it through Zapier, it defines the stage and the status for me. And so now this person is here, they're showing up, and I just have to come in here and say, okay, it's my time to contact this person. In this situation, I first have to make a determination that I've already told the system I'm going to contact this type of lead every 2 days. But in this situation, I've never spoke to this person. So do I continue to contact them every 2 days forever? Probably not. So one of the things that you have to do is decide how many times that you're going to contact each type of lead. And underneath your planning worksheet, if you scroll down at the bottom, you can list your source types here, and you can kind of make that distinction. So kind of common is I've seen 5 days, I've seen 7 days, 10 days, 14 days, whatever it is, but you're going to make a conscious decision that if I have never spoken to this person, but for whatever reason they came into my wheelhouse, I'm going to contact them, let's just say 10 times. So what I'm going to do is say, okay, I tried to talk to this person. They didn't answer. So I left a voicemail, and then I'm going to shoot them an email. So I would send this email off. Can't send it without a subject line. All right. The system recorded the email, and the system recorded my note. And so if I come in here and I say, okay, well, this person is good for today. And again, I would encourage you to use last call date a little bit loosely, because I know maybe in this case you didn't talk to them. but we're talking about definitions or talking about how the system responds. So if I come into postpone contact date, I could say I want to talk to this person again in 2 days. But because I know that the system expects me to contact this person every 2 days, I'm going to update the last call date to today. And when I back out of here, this person is good. When I come back in 2 more days and this person is back on my contact cross section, especially if I've never talked to them, I may need more context. And so a lot of the times when you're funneling leads, you're going to find yourself looking inside their notes and correspondence. So I can see here on the 6th, I left a voicemail, I sent an email. So then I'm making a decision. Okay, this is a tip 2. What am I going to do? All right. So I'm going to do that for a certain number of times, right? I want to get that person on the phone and say, hey, you were searching on our website and I was just calling to get an idea of what you're looking for in a property so that I can update your search to make sure that it fits your criteria. They're going to give you their criteria and you're going to move them up the funnel. So let's say that we had that conversation with them. You spoke to them and they said, yeah, we actually are looking for a property. This is what we want to do, things like that. You're not going to let them continue to be on this bottom tier of this funnel, because the only goal of this bottom funnel right here is to move them up and qualify them, or to disqualify them and get them off. So in this case, I qualified her. She said, yeah, she's good to go. So I'm going to change her status to prospect or lead, depending on what kind of conversation we had and how I define my prospects and my leads. And so that goes back to this, this setup right here on you determining what each type of this bucket means to you. And so in this case, I talked to her. She wants to start looking at property. She has not signed with me, but I would consider her a lead. And so maybe I moved her up to no, or, whatever it is, if I determine this. The only thing that the system is using to determine consistency of communication is status. If I have someone as a lead, again, my leads are every 7 days, and I have them as aware, the system's going to still tell me once every week to contact them. If I have them as like, the system's still going to tell me to contact them once a week. It's just going to change where they show up. So do they show up here under lead no or lead like? You can make that determination, but it's not going to change the way the system does this. So I have moved her up. And all I have to do now is go back to my contact cross section. The system's going to read that and it's going to reclassify her, use the last call date or the last personal visit date, and push her out to the next time. So see, she's up here now. To the next time that I have talked to her. So the other situation that may have happened is maybe I've tried to contact Kirby 7 times. And for 7 times, I have not been able to get a hold of Kirby. And I've decided in my lead funneling that 7 times is the maximum number of attempts. And I'm going to disqualify this lead. If I come in here to contact and I change either the stage or the status to none, I have told the system that this person does not qualify to be on my contact cross section. And so when I go back to my contact cross section, then this person is no longer going to be showing up as a person that I need to contact. And so the goal is here, they either move up or down, or you kick them off.
And at that point, you could still put them on some kind of nurturing type workflow to contact them maybe once a week or whatever, by email, by text, or whatever. But it's just not going to continually remind you as the fail safe to actually come in there and make sure that this person's contacted. I mean, that's really what the gear of this is to lock in and say, this person, I want to make sure I always contact them X number of days. And if you set either one of those to none, either where no lack trust or suspect, prospect, lead, client, past client to none, then that effectively removes them from the detector part of this and no longer applies them to the cross section.
Yep. Um, so, and on that note, we typically suggest that if you disqualify a person for that reason you didn't get a hold of them, we have long-term buyer and long-term seller workflows, which is going to be a monthly call reminder and an automatic email or text, or I'm sorry, an automatic email that gives educational information to people that may do business in the future. They're just not ready now. And so that workflow does work well for this situation. Also, sometimes people will add the tag of newsletter to that person, and they'll start getting their newsletter aware so that they don't truly just fall off. But again, for the purpose of this widget, this is saying I'm going to make active attempts at direct communication. And in this case, we're not. So we disqualified them. So if I want to start using, if my contact cross section is at 0, okay, what am I going to do to start using it? And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to, as I said, go over to your definitions worksheet, and you're going to make a determination on how you're going to treat each type of these leads. Once you've done that, then you have to tell the system how it should behave. And so if you go into settings and you scroll down to set default fields, the last tab is dashboard. In your dashboard is where these settings live. And so it's saying, hey, if somebody's on your contact cross section and they're marked as a suspect, make them show up every 2 days, a prospect every 3 days. And so this is kind of a pick your own, pick your path here. Okay. So use that worksheet, decide what you're going to do, and make that determination. Each type of person on how you're going to classify them is probably done by state or on source type. And so I would encourage you also to come over to your contact source types. And on this worksheet, if you scroll down here, the last part is to set your sources and define a stage for each. If I get a referral, they're going to come in as no and lead. Okay. And so in my head, I look at lead and I'm going, okay, once a week. I'm committing to contacting referrals, a new referral once a week. So you're having that conversation with you. If I get a home snap person, I'm going to mark them as suspect. I'm going to talk to them every 2 days. And so you're doing this for each type of lead that you have. And if you're not sure, where your leads are coming from or anything like that, you can plan that out in settings under contact source types. And if you need help kind of brainstorming, if you click inside of this master source types dropdown, it has a list of common source types. So you're first going to get a list of your source types, and you're going to define how often you're going to contact them. And you're going to put that into your worksheet, and you're going to set your default fields under dashboard. So the last thing that you have to do is essentially tell the system who needs to be on the widget. And so if I were starting from scratch, starting from day one, the first thing that I would do is make sure that anybody that I have under contract is on that widget. And so if I come in here to my transactions and I select pending, these are all of my pending people, right? So if I come in here, I'm like, all right, well, who's the buyer for this? So my seller right now is Mickey Mouse. I want to ensure that I'm going to talk to Mickey Mouse every week. And so I'm going to click into his contact record. I'm going to look at his stage and status. Trust, client. Perfect. He's a current client, and I want to talk to him once a week. And so the other last thing that I have to do is make sure that the system has at least one last call date or personal visit date, because it doesn't know how to set the frequency until you give it a frequency or, an established date point. So if I have these 3 things, stage, status, and at least a call date or last personal visit date, Mickey Mouse is going to show up on my contact cross section now, and he's going to show up every, however often until I either move him up or down. You're probably not going to move a past client. Past clients are probably going to come down to a client. They're going to move back and forth, and that's going to help you with communication. So I'm going to do that for all of my current clients. And then I would probably start on my past clients. I would go and make sure that each of my past clients have a stage and a status. You can set stage and status in maps. And so if I came in and I did a filter and I was looking for, I can come in here and see how many people I have as aware, know, like, and trust. but maybe I haven't been using this contact cross section and I've been tagging all of my people as past client. I could come in here, select my past clients, select all of them, update their stage and their status. So when I filter down, I select all in the top right-hand corner. I'm going to select assign stage. Anybody I've closed, I'm going to say like trust. And I can also do that with their status. Now, the only thing that this isn't going to do that's going to be required for someone to show up on your contact cross section is your last call or last personal visit date. And so I'm going to need to check those for my contacts. And so if I come into the contact record, click on contact dates, I can see here they do not have a last call date or a last personal visit date. And so even though they have a stage and a status set, they can't show up on the contact cross section because I haven't told the system. And so, maybe I talked to them September. And so now this person, I verified that they have all three of those conditions. They'll start to show up on that contact cross section. And so again, steps are qualify your current clients, qualify your sphere and your past clients, and then make a determination on how you're going to funnel leads. Where are you getting your leads from? What frequency of communication are you going to make contact attempts for? What qualifies somebody to move up to the next stage? And what disqualifies them from being on the contact cross section?
Yeah. And one thing I would, if we go back one step there where you were at, maybe you're viewing all your past clients in the sort section, if you will sort it instead of by entry date that you've got currently. Actually take off or save that filter. You really need to kind of save that filter from where you're at right now. Perfect. Now on that sort by, if you'll go ahead and sort by last call date, and now if you'll hit the view all, on the far right, you're going to see the dates of all the ones that you do have an established call date on. So any of those that you do not have an established call date on would be ones that I would go in there and say, oh, when did I last call them? I need to call them and put in a date, or at least if I did call them and didn't put in a date, put in the date so that then they will show up. This is just an easier way of viewing that list and making sure that they fall on that date. And you can do the same thing for last personal visit.
Yeah, and you, to that point, you could come in here too and say, show me anybody that has one of these and one of these, right, Mark?
Correct.
Right. So this is saying, okay, show me a person if they have this and this. Same thing if I come in here and I just say, okay, so they've got two right now. I know that anybody in this list, 92 people, they have a stage and a status. What I don't know is that they have a last call date or last personal visit date to qualify them to show up on the contact cross section. So when I do this and I do the sort by, like Mark is saying, and I select the last call date, now I can come in here and I can quickly see over here on the right that all of these people without a last call date, they're not going to show up on my contact cross section. Even though I've defined their stage and their status, these are the people that I now need to work on to make sure that they are kind of in my cadence of communication, because otherwise they will fall through the cracks.
Yeah. And one preface to that is on the contact cross section itself, there is an option to filter on or filter off. The filter on, filter off is because of the date value. So if you have the filter off, they will show in there. The problem is you just don't know which ones will have the date or not. By going through the view all lists of the contacts, you can at least see all those names a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so filter off, this tells me I've got 37 people that I have marked as past client and trust, but it doesn't mean that it's time to contact all 37 of these people. but filter on is telling me 25 of those people, it's been over the 90 days that I told the system that I would contact.
Correct. Correct.
Yep, absolutely. So setting this up, fill out your worksheet and go into your settings, update those settings that they to tell the system how often you're going to contact people, and then qualify your people. You can do a lot of that in mass. Yeah, I'm using the filters, but again, I would start with contacts or my current clients. I would go into my past client, my sphere, and then I would make a plan for each type of lead that I have. And then you can start using that contact cross section. Once you've qualified these people, it's really as simple as we began with. You come in, if it's not 0, it means do something with this person. And the great part about this is personally, I would set aside 30 minutes every business day to work on communication with my clients. And I would use this widget to do it. And the great thing about this is a lot of people say, I'm going to contact 10 people today. I don't love that. I know that's not popular opinion, but it could take me 5 minutes to contact 10 people if I gave 10 voicemails. But it could take me 7 hours to make that if I got my grandmother on the phone, so I don't love a defined number, but I do love time blocking. And I would very much encourage you to say, I'm going to spend 30 minutes and just make one-on-one contact. And I'm going to use this widget to do that.
Yeah. Work on the color. They are color schemed based off of importance. So any of them in the red are going to be more important because of one reason or another. Getting those down through that list. The other thing that, and you may be covering it, you may be going to cover this. The other thing that you need to remember is that not all past clients are treated equally. You may have some past clients, they've given you a lot of referrals or whatever, and you can use your category, your ABCD, as an importance indicator to those contacts and say, well, if they're an A instead of quarterly for my past clients, I want to contact them maybe monthly. So in the settings area, you may have seen that there was a section in there for ABCD. Now, were you going to go over that at all?
Yeah, I can go over that.
Yeah.
Okay, so to Mark's point, big picture bucket for a past client is sphere, somebody that you've talked to or that you've established communication with, have an established relationship with, by default is every 90 days. So what Mark is saying is, well, what if you have a certain bucket of people, your top 50, your A's, your certain people that you want to contact every 30 days? How do you tell the system that some people, should be contacted more frequently, even though they all qualify to be in this bucket? And the way you do that is through their ABCD classifications. Inside any contact record, underneath their picture is going to be an A, B, C, and D. So again, I would start, part of what you need to be doing to use this is inside your worksheet, you have define your category timeframes. Okay. So, excuse me, the same way that you have default for status, suspect, prospect, lead, those have default timelines. A, B, C, and D have a default timeline, and what they're supposed to do or what they can do is they can override that past client status. And so maybe anybody that I mark as an A is going to be contacted every 30 days or, whatever it is. And so that way, if somebody's on my contact cross section and I have also come in here and said, this person is an A, instead of showing up every 90 days, they're now going to show up every 30 days. So step 1, define the time frames associated with these categories. And in your settings under set default fields, when you're filling out your dashboard for your suspect, prospect, lead client, understand that if somebody is also A, B, C, D, it is going to override that time frame and possibly push that person up if they're a past client, etc. If you just put a category, that is not going to qualify somebody to put on the contact cross section. It is in addition to the base that you need: status, stage, and time, last call date, last personal visit date.
We might be able to better define this page here if we were to say A dash past client, B dash past client, because they do have to be a past client to to qualify for this. If they're suspect, prospect, lead, client, those 4 categories are going to definitely be in that 2, 3, and 7 group. But if they're past client, it can use that as an additional indicator to your past client differential, so that whenever you're going in there, you can give preferences to your A group, your B group, your C group, etc. And if they don't have an A, B, C, or D, then it's just the past client.
Yeah, then they're going to show up in this, right? But we can
Right.
use A, B, C, and D to override this number and define our own, essentially sub-segmenting your sphere and your past client list.
Right.
And if I have my past client mark at 120 and I mark them as a D, it does push them out to 180, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so
It
those
does.
would be great for those people that you necessarily haven't said, I'm never going to do business with them again. But you're probably, you may not pick up the phone once a quarter and call them. So definitely spend a lot of time here. And the setup is important. Once you set this up, what it use to maintain this is just using it, logging in once a day, whatever it is, and working through that contact cross section. The only other part that is important to do is to make sure that new people that come in, that they get on this contact cross section. Again, if you're using Zapier to get your leads into the system automatically, Zapier can define stage, status, and last call date automatically, so that that person comes into the system and they show up on the contact cross section. In your contract to close workflows, you should have a step in there that is reminding you to update that person's status. And if you just meet somebody or you're manually entering leads, then part of what you should be entering in as if they need to be on there is their stage, status, and a last call date or last personal visit date. Anything else on that, Mark?
No, those are the few things that I was making notes whenever you were speaking, and excellent job there. It's fun. I should say it is fun for me to help you guys understand how to use this. It's even funner whenever people get it. And the one thing I love about your explanation is you go in and you explain, okay, from point A to point B, this is where you start, this is where you go, and where you're heading, and making sure that it's set up. And I think just going through that process is helping everybody understand how important this contact cross section can be to your business. And if you utilize it on every 30 minutes a day, every day for 30 minutes, it's going to help you set a communication pattern with your clients, your past clients, your leads, that other agents are just not doing, and they should be, but they don't. And building that
that's what came
relationship.
to mind too. I'm like, if you lean into nothing else, this contact cross section can change your business, because you're doing what 80% of agents aren't doing, and it's the communication. And if you're scared of communication, stop thinking of communication as regular communication. And you're not always selling. I think agents always just want to sell. Hey, I'm an agent. No, you're a human. People want to do business with people that they know. So work on knowing that person and not on selling them your services. And if you look at it that way, then you're not reluctant to get on Facebook and be like, oh, that was a cute kid picture of your soccer, your kid playing soccer last night. That can be a touch. This is just a way to remind you to establish and continue relationships. But probably, like Mark's saying, there's nothing more important than setting this up and doing it, because this is your source of business, and this will make you money. So I definitely, set this up and start using it if you're not already. You can use this in addition to workflows, meaning that maybe I have an active buyer workflow that I start, and it tells me when to do certain things to make sure I got a buyer brokerage sign, things like that. I can use that in addition to my widget, but I don't have to. But again, anybody that I want to establish, build, keep communication with, they're going on my contact cross section.
So
So yeah, that's all I have on that. If you haven't already, if you want to take a copy of that worksheet, I would definitely use that to plan, set up your settings, and then just start using the contact cross section.
yeah, for those that are listening to this on replay, I'll put it down in the notes section, the comment section of the description of this video on YouTube. So
Yeah, you can grab it there.
all right.
Any questions?
Well, any questions? That's what I was about to say.
Just a comment. This was an excellent presentation.
Awesome.
Good. We on our end, we really need to redo our Realvolve setup to match something like this.
Yeah, I have talked to a lot of agents that have said this is the one thing that once they implemented it in their business has just added the consistency to their business that they needed on a daily basis to know what to do. I mean, you can come into the office, you can sit in the chair, and then you can think to yourself, what should I do now? Well, number one, you should be checking Realvolve's your calendar list to make sure that's you've got things on your activities list to do. But if that's cleared, you don't have anything to do, and you just want some force effort to be applied, this is the first place that you should look, because it's going to give you that list of people that just naturally need to be contacted because you've set it up properly.
Yeah, and that brings one more thought into mind. I think that if you are a brokerage, you're a team, I like this for tracking, because especially if I am paying for leads or I'm providing agents with leads, I see too often agents are just throwing spaghetti in the air and seeing what sticks to the wall. Your money, where is it going? If I am providing my agents with leads, I am going to have a thing in place to make sure that I can verify or I can track their progress. And so the great thing about this contact cross section is that if I, go in here and let's just say Emily Test is, it comes into my brokerage, and what is defining whose contact cross section it shows up on is by this record ownership. Okay. So if I, and I don't have this other account, if I go in here and say this is going over to Joe Agent, and I change the record ownership over to Joe Agent, now this person is going to show up on Joe Agent's contact cross section. And if I had multiple accounts, I could click here and it would say log in as, and I can go in here and I can look at Joe Agent's contact cross section, and I can see very clearly, is Joe Agent doing the things? Is he not doing the things? And if you're defining those stage and status, you can also use those filters to kind of drill down and see, who's doing what and things like that. So how many active clients do they have? How many, current suspects? How many people are in their pool that they need to be working? Is the problem that they're not converting, or that we're not giving enough people in their pond? All of those can be kind of looked at a higher level view for team leaders and brokers too, by setting this up and establishing rules that your agents need to follow.
Yeah, and if you see that there are 20 suspects in there, or more, it could be a situation where they're not following up on the leads that you're providing them. Pass those to somebody else on your team, because it's costing you money if you're the team leader.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, Kendra, thank you so much for that insight and information that you provided. That is great. Pretty good. Any other questions? Going once, going twice.
Yes, I do have one more question.
You got it right in time.
Yeah, you just caught me off guard with this when Kendra, you showed the, let me bring it up, the record owner.
Yeah.
Is that the determination of whether they show up in that agent's cross section?
It is the determination. And I've seen different people handle this different ways. So if I create a contact inside of the system, if I am in my account and I'm a sub user of yours, I'm one of your agents. If I create that contact as logged in as me, I'm going to default as the owner. But if you, as the team leader, broker, things like that, maybe you have a Zapier account set up for all of your Zillow leads. If I'm saying any Zillow lead that I come in, funnel it into my account, and I'm not using round robining, it's possible that the default ownership is going to go to you. In which case, this agent would never know, who to contact or things like that. So if I come in here and I add 2 record owners, this contact is going to show up on both people's contact cross section. If I remove myself and I add the other person, I'm kicking them off of my contact cross section, and I'm going to put them on the sub-agent's contact cross section. So I get the question a lot, well, what if I gave that agent the lead? My suggestion would be still to change record ownership and either add it under radar, pin a note, or add a tag that indicates that you gave them that lead. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does. I'm the one who sets up all of the client information. And I just noticed that all of the record owners are me, yet I don't deal with the clients directly myself.
Yeah, definitely something that you need to address. And if you're using the contact cross section, the ownership should be of whoever's responsible for maintaining that contact cross section.
One thing you may need to show him real quick is under settings. Actually, he may not have access to it. In settings, if you've got record ownership, account ownership on this, if you go in under users, which users and permissions, where it says, it's not going to show it on this particular one. Maybe I need to show it on mine. There is an option for assigning the record owner. So if you're basically an assistant to somebody and you're always entering contacts for that person, you can assign. Click on the click here to configure. It may not, because it's probably not.
It hasn't been authorized yet.
It hasn't been authorized yet. Let me go into mine and share mine real quick. Okay, so share screen 2. Go to settings. So under users and permissions, and the account owner needs to do this. We have this option here.
You're not sharing your screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Share. Thank you. You see it now? So
it's loading, but yeah.
Under the settings, and then users and permissions, each user, depending on who they are going to have different permissions, but we have this option here for change record owner. And the purpose of this is if Jake is the logged in person, but he maybe is my assistant, I can come in here and say, well, I want to, anything that Jake enters, make Mark the record owner. So that way it goes in and it automatically creates Mark then as that record owner. So that may be something that you need to look at. And if you're doing multiple people, then it becomes a little bit more challenging. Like, which person do I choose? I would choose the one that you do the most for. And then if you're entering it for somebody else, then go in and change that record ownership based off of whose record you're actually entering it as. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. Thank you very much.
All right.
Awesome. Good stuff.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for attending. For those that are watching this on preview or replay, make sure you go out to the YouTube channel to get that link for the worksheet in our description. And we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.